Gibbons checking the sign. The 0-1 pitch. Swung on, a line shot to center field. Mark Ferrullo coming in and makes the catch. There's one away here in the top of the third. Huskies adding a second run in the second inning after there was one away. Capalbo walked. John Gallick singled, putting men on first and second. And then Doug Elliott hit into fielder's choice, putting men on the corners at first and third. Kevin Trahan with two down managed to get a single off the glove of Bill O'Leary, knocking in the second run, and the Huskies are leading right now by the score of 2-0. It's going to bring up Jim Considine with one away. Considine flew out to center field his first time up. His first pitch is high, fastball outside. Count goes up to 1 ball and no strikes.
Considine on the season has 7 home runs and 22 RBIs, and he's hitting .278 coming into today's action. So far, 0 for 1 today.
The 1-0 pitch, called strike one right over the plate as Considine was looking at a fastball. Count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. They're playing Considine to pull as the right fielder is at about the 40-yard line, which really doesn't tell you much. Of course, football field on the baseball field. Here's the next pitch, a line shot in left field. Left fielder going back for it, and Dan Smith makes the catch. There's 2 away. It looked like Smith might have misjudged that in the beginning, but he quickly got a beat on it. And there's 2 down quickly here in the top of the third inning.
The sun here at Parsons Field will not affect any fielders, maybe just the right fielder to the right of his eyes, but the left fielder and center fielder will have no problems looking into what little sun we have here on an overcast day in Boston.
Kip Chapman, the number 5 hitter, struck out his first time up. First pitch curveball down low in the dirt, ball 1. We'd like to remind you of some upcoming broadcasts. Tomorrow afternoon at 12:55, it'll be UConn versus St. John's, as myself and Bob Bunger will be there to bring you that action. Ball 2, low fastball, and the count goes up to 2 balls and no strikes. After that, you could hear next Husky baseball action on Wednesday. The Huskies will be playing the Providence College Friars in Providence. Hugh James will be there along with Jeff Dobek. And then Thursday night, it'll be myself and Jeff Dobek one more time as the Huskies go down to Waterbury to face the Fairfield Stags, a team they blew away by the score of 31-4. The 2-0 pitch, fastball in the outside corner, and it's a called strike. Make that a, let's see exactly what they're going to call that. I believe he called it a strike. The scoreboard says it was a ball. Well, we'll go along with the scoreboard. The count goes up to 3-0. And the scoreboard was right as the count goes to ball 4. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, we are in left center field, about 350, 400 feet away from home plate. And we have a little bit of problems when it comes time to pick up the umpire signals. But a walk it is for Kip Chapman. He's on first base with 2 away, and up comes Tally Noble, the shortstop. Noble on the year has been hitting red hot as of late. His average has boosted all the way up to 347 coming into today's action. First pitch to Tally, a called strike. First time up, Noble flied out to the center fielder, Mark Ferrullo. Ferrullo has had a lot of action here in the game so far. He has had 3 putouts. Next pitch popped up to the right side. Going over for it is the first baseman, Gary Frechette, and coming out as the catcher, but Frechette calls him off, makes the catch, and the side is retired. So there was no runs on no hits, no errors, and 1 left on base. A walk to Kip Chapman. At the end of 2.5 innings of play, it's the Huskies of Connecticut 2 and the Huskies of Northeastern 0. Thank you very much, Bill Healy, Dan Smith, Mark Ferrullo, and Steve Veronesi in the bottom of the third inning. 2 quick pitches so far, and the count is 1 ball and 1 strike as the rain is starting to come down a little bit more than it has been throughout most of this game. 1-1 pitch by Sternagle, a line shot in the left field. Noble dives for it, but he couldn't get to it, and it's going to take 3 bounces, and John Gallick picks it up and runs it into the infield. Nice play by John Gallick as he kept the ball in front of him that whole way, but Smith comes up with a base hit, the second base hit for the Northeastern team, and the Northeastern Huskies have something going. Last game, Smith, I believe, had a couple of base hits himself as he has been eating up this Connecticut Husky pitching. Smith last game was 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored. So he is having a fine year versus the Connecticut pitching. The number 1 batter in the lineup, Mark Ferrullo, now at the plate. And the first pitch, a called strike to him. So the count goes to 0-1 with Dan Smith anchored at first base. The 0-1 pitch swung on, a called strike 2. So quickly Sternagle gets ahead of the count, 0-2 here in the bottom of the third inning. Smith on first base. And the Huskies playing straight away for Mark Ferrullo, who grounded out to the first baseman Tommy Capalbo 3-1 in the first inning. Outside, ball 1. Count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the on-deck batter, Steve Veronesi. Inside fastball, 2-2 as the count evens up. Sun trying to peek through here. The weather kind of crazy up here in Boston as it's raining, the sun is out, and it's going back and forth in between. Next pitch fouled off behind the plate. As it goes out of play, the count remains at 2-2 strikes. Sparse crowd on hand here at Parsons Field. Baseball not big up here in the Northeastern Husky territory, not like hockey and now basketball. Next pitch grounded, foul up the third baseline. Count still stays at 2-2. Looked like it was going to be a hit and run as Dan Smith had a little bit of a jump on the play. Huskies play a very tough St. John's Redmond team tomorrow. 6th in the country as they're unbeaten at 14-0. Next pitch, line shot in the right center field. And coming up with it is the right fielder, Kevin Trahan. And going on to third base, standing up, will be Dan Smith. So a nice play there by Mark Ferrullo as he goes to the opposite field to collect his base hit. And there's now men on the corners, first and third, with no outs here in the bottom of the third inning. That's going to bring up the second baseman, Steve Veronesi. Veronesi last game versus the Huskies was 3 for 5. He walked in the first inning. He is a left-handed hitter. Huskies playing back for the double play. Sternagel checks a sign, pitches, and a swing and a miss. Strike one. Sternagel, 6'4", left-handed pitcher who hails from East Hartford, Connecticut. Checking the sign from the catcher, Doug Elliott. Here's the pitch, curveball outside corner, 1-1 strike. Smith on third, Ferrullo on first. Northeastern trying to tie this game up. They are down by 2 runs, 2-0 here in the bottom of the third inning. Next pitch, fouled back. Out of play, 1-2 strikes. Sternagel gets a new ball, rubs it in a little bit, now sits in, checks the sign, and is ready to deliver. The 1-2 pitch, called, strike 3, and Steve Veronesi goes down without even swinging. One away here in the bottom of the third.
And that's a big out, Harold, now, because now the double play can be had at second and first, and Connecticut might be able to get out of this inning without giving up a run.
Second strikeout of the game for Craig Sternagel. That's going to bring up the number 3 hitter, Gene Doucette. And Doucette, his first time up, flied out to Tom Rossi in center field. Doucette had the game-winning home run the last time these two teams met on Monday. And the first pitch to him swung on and missed, strike one. No warm-up action for either team in the bullpen, as Andy Baylock is going to go with Sternagel. Sternagel has been on a roll as of late, defeating both Yale and the University of Rhode Island. And right now, so far, he has a shutout. Next pitch, low. It almost gets away from Doug Elliott, but he keeps it in front of him. Count goes up to 1-1 strike. Wind picking up a little bit here at Parsons Field, as you can hear it in the background. And the sun now hidden behind the clouds. The 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed, strike 2. So Craig Sternagel, with a little bit of a sinking fastball, is doing the trick versus the Northeastern Husky batters, as he lit up 2 quick hits in the beginning of the inning, then struck out Steve Veronesi, and the count is 1-2. And here's the next pitch, a base hit past the second baseman, Mike Johnson. 1 run will score. Trahan throwing on the third base, and there will be no play as the man on first, Mark Ferrullo, goes all the way to third with no problem. So give Gene Doucette a base hit and an RBI as Northeastern comes on the board. The score is Connecticut 2, Northeastern 1. So it's still going to be Northeastern Huskies on the corner. This time it's going to be Ferrullo on third and Doucette on first. And that's going to bring up the cleanup hitter, Bill O'Leary. And O'Leary had a fine game last time versus the Huskies. He was 2 for 5 with a grand slam home run. So far this game, he has grounded out to Jimmy Consign. The Huskies looking for the double play to get him out of this inning. And Sternagel's going to have to keep the ball on the ground, try to keep that sinking fastball low. First pitch high and away. 1 ball and no strikes. So Sternagel's going to have to settle himself down just a little bit and follow through a little more. Keep those pitches down low. He can't be tired. It's only the bottom of the third. Next pitch again high, 2-0.
Harold, those last couple of hits by the Northeastern Huskies have been by right-handed hitters going to right field. They've been going with the pitch, and that last one there by Doucette went to the left of second baseman Johnson, who dove for it. And sharp hits this inning off Sternagel as Johnson goes to the mound to have a few words with Craig. And now goes back to his position, and O'Leary steps in.
2 balls and no strikes versus Bill O'Leary. And here's the pitch. Swung on, foul up the first baseline on the ground. Count goes to 2-1. Good observation there, Jeff, as it looks like all the Northeastern players are going with the pitch. Sternagel keeping the ball on the outside corner. And Coach John Tinker Connolly, the coach 27 years for the Northeastern Huskies, really teaching his team the fundamentals. Go with the pitch. And they're doing that nicely. Grab now a pitch in the dirt. It's going to go past Doug Elliott. A wild pitch. 1 run will score. And going on to second base will be Gene Doucette. So a wild pitch scores Mark Ferrulo. And the game is tied at 2. Doucette on second. Bill O'Leary at the plate. The count is 3-1. And Andy Balak now going over and getting set to call a timeout. He wants to talk to his pitcher to stall for some time as the Huskies get some relief action going up in the bullpen. It looks like it is going to be number 11. I think that's number 11. Rich Tassi might be getting ready to go into the game. Make that number 16, it looks like. Mike McKenna starting to warm up along the sidelines. Tassi just stood up to stretch himself. Next pitch, ball 4. As we go back to live action, and Sternagel picks up his second walk. So on the sidelines, as we said, warming up is Mike McKenna. Sternagel walks Bill O'Leary, putting men on first and second. And it's going to bring up Chuck Pasquarelli. Pasquarelli, first time up, lined a single in the left field. And the first pitch to him, high and inside, ball 1. We're in the bottom of the third. If you've just joined us, it's Connecticut 2, Northeastern 2. Craig Sternagel having some problems here in the bottom of the third. Men on first and second with 1 down. And the number 5 hitter is at the plate. Next pitch in the dirt. The count goes up to 2 balls and no strikes. And Jim Considine calling timeout. He wants to talk to his pitcher. It seems like when you have a pitcher who works as quickly as Craig Sternagel does from the mound, you're not going to have a much warm-up along the sidelines for Mike McKenna. So Considine just telling him, hey, settle down just a little bit. You're probably rushing your pitches, plus give the relief pitcher a little bit of time to warm up. So the 2-0 pitch in the dirt again. The count goes up to 3-0. And this has to be frustrating for manager Andy Balak. He was hoping that Craig Sternagel would come through and pitch a fine ball game today, as he had done so the last 2 games. And up to this inning, he had been pitching fairly well, even though he's allowed 1 runner on each of the first 2 innings. The 3-0 pitch, high, ball 4, and that's Sternagel's third walk. And Balak now gets up to try to quicken the pace for Mike McKenna as he goes over to McKenna, seeing how well he is doing. For Sternagel, that's his third walk. And the number 6 hitter, Gary Frechette, the first baseman, is up. He flew out to Kevin Trahan the first time up. Sternagel having problems as the bases are full of Huskies, and these aren't Connecticut Huskies, these are Northeastern Huskies. On third is Gene Doucette. At second base, the cleanup hitter Bill O'Leary, and at first, Chuck Pasquarelli. This inning started off with an innocent single by Dan Smith. Mark Ferrulo finished with another single, putting the men on the corners. First pitch, a called strike 1. Steve Veronesi struck out. It looked like they'd get out of it with a double play with men on first and third, but Doucette singled, and he's threw in a wild pitch to get in the second run, and 2 walks to Bill O'Leary and Chuck Pasquarelli, and that's going to bring up Gary Frechette as that count goes now up to 1 ball and 1 strike. The 1-1 pitch called, strike 2. So Sternagel now is trying to find the plate, and doing so is ahead of the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. High and away with a fastball. Count is evened at 2-2.
And Sternagel is throwing all over the place, Harold, not just low consistently. He's been low, high, inside and outside, all around the plate this inning.
High ball 3, and Sternagel just not following through. He is not concentrating on the mound, as he seems to be just ready as soon as he gets the ball to fire it right back. He is not thinking very well. I think he is lost a little bit of his composure. And here comes a 3-2 pitch, swung on and fouled out of play. So keeping himself alive is the first baseman, Gary Frechette. As the count is up to 3-2, and this is going to have to take a little bit away from the fielders who are sitting out in the field and watching walk after walk. Looked like the Huskies might be able to get out of it, but Sternagle losing a little bit of his control. And the bases are loaded. The count is 3-2 with one away. High ball four gets past the catcher. One run will score, and Balak still waiting for McKenna to get through as it looks like Craig Sternagle has kind of lost it. A bases loaded walk to Gary Frechette, and the score is Northeastern 3, Connecticut 2. And now it's going to be Doug Elliott to go and talk to Craig Sternagle.
No move from Andy Balak yet. He's just watching McKenna, the pitcher, his relief pitcher in the bullpen, and I don't know if he wants to stay with Sternagle any longer. That's 3 straight walks for Craig. He's also given up 3 singles here in the 3rd inning, so a bunch of 3s. Coming up will be designated hitter Frank DePinto, who Sternagle struck out last inning.
And now Andy Balak sees that Mike McKenna is ready. He is calling timeout, and he is going to make the switch. So Balak really putting a little bit of pressure on Mike McKenna, waiting to see when he would be ready to warm up. And it looks like that's going to be all for Craig Sternagle, the lefty from East Hartford, Connecticut. So Sternagle, with the book closed on him, pitched 2 1/3 innings of ball. He allowed 4 base hits, walked 4 batters, and struck out 2. And he is responsible for all 3 runs that are on the base paths right now. So far he has allowed 3 earned runs. And this could be 4, 5, and 6 if McKenna does not do the job. Mike McKenna, meanwhile, number 16, is a right-handed pitcher, a junior out of Jewett City, Connecticut. He is listed at 5'9", 165 pounds. On the year, McKenna has a record of 2 wins and 2 losses. He has pitched 6 games and started 5 of them, completed 2. So McKenna, now going into the relieving role, has an ERA of 5.56, just a little bit higher than the Connecticut's team average. He has pitched 34 innings, has allowed more than 1 hit per inning, as he's allowed 37 hits, 28 runs, 21 earned, 17 walks, and 17 strikeouts. So Mike McKenna is now going into the game to see what he could do, see if he can get the Huskies out of it. They are now behind Northeastern by the count of 3-2. And coming up to the plate will be the DH, Frank DePinto.
Looking down the Northeastern roster, Harold, most of the players here on this team are from Massachusetts, all but 3, and those 3 are all from Connecticut, including second baseman Steve Veronesi. Also, we have a couple of pitchers from Shelton. Jeff Walsh, you might know Jeff Walsh. He's a sophomore from Shelton, your hometown.
Jeff Walsh was a former teammate of mine, and I also played a little bit against the man from Derby, Connecticut, Ed Wazakowski. So I did not realize Jeff Walsh was on the Northeastern squad. He is a former teammate in both baseball and basketball, as is Joe Frager from the Connecticut Huskies. Frager and Walsh were teammates for the 4 years that they both played, but Walsh is now listed, and he is a sophomore. Mike McKenna on the mound now, trying to get the Connecticut Huskies out of this one. Bases are loaded. First pitch, a fastball right over the plate. The count is 0-1. DePinto, first time up, struck out versus Craig Sternagle. We have O'Leary on third, Pasquarelli on second, Frechette on first. Next pitch swung on and missed. A nice curve by McKenna. Count goes to 0-2. So McKenna comes into the game, starts quickly picking up the pace of the game. And the count is 0-2. And strikes him out. So a nice fastball. Again, this was a little bit too high, but DePinto swinging at it and missing. 2-way here in the bottom of the 3rd. It's going to bring up the lefty, Pat Berry, the right fielder. Berry, the first time up, flew out to Tom Rossi. And McKenna on 3 pitches has struck out his first batter he faces. Huskies looking for their 11th win as a team. First pitch swung on, a fly ball to left field. Going over for it is John Gallick, but it is going to go foul. And all the Northeastern Huskies will have to return to the original bases. 4 pitches and 4 strikes for McKenna, as he is trying to get out of this jam that Craig Sternagle has put the Connecticut Huskies into. Huskies with a record of 10-14-1, up north with a record of 7-7-1. Make that 7, that's right, 7-7-1. They were 3-7 down south. Bottom of the 3rd inning, Northeastern 3, Connecticut 2. Here's the 0-1 pitch. called strike 2. So McKenna really doing the job as his fastball is working nicely. Count is in his favor, 0-2. Checks the sign, winds, and deals. Outside, ball 1. O'Leary on third, Pasquarelli on second, Frechette on first. 2 away as McKenna just struck out Frank DePinto, the DH. And Pat Berry with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes on him. The pitch, check swing, and he went around, strike 3. So that is going to be the side as McKenna does the job for the Connecticut Huskies. But the damage was done. There were 3 runs on 3 base hits. There were no errors and 3 left on base. At the end of 3 complete innings of play, the Huskies of Northeastern 3 and the Connecticut Huskies 2. Harold Darak along with Jeff Dobek at Parsons Field in Boston, Massachusetts. The Northeastern Huskies have just picked up 3 quick runs. They lead the Connecticut Huskies by the score of 3-2. Their last inning, Smith led it off with a single. Ferrullo followed with a single, putting men on the corners. Steve Varanowski struck out, but Gene Doucette banged in a base hit for 1 run. A wild pitch brought in the second run, and 2 walks loaded the bases, and Gary Frechette walked also with the bases loaded. Northeastern 3, Connecticut 2. And we are now in the top of the 4th inning. It'll be Tommy Capalbo, John Gallick, and Doug Elliott to face the pitcher for Northeastern, the lefty, Pat Gibbons.
And right now we'd like to pause 5 seconds for station identification. This is UConn Husky Baseball.
Capalbo, with his first time up, walked and later scored a run as he was knocked in by a single by Kevin Trahan. Capalbo, with 25 walks on the year, is just 6 shy of the all-time single-season record for walks. And we'll tell you in a minute who that record was set by. Tom Kopp in 1961. Walked 31 times in the season. The first pitch at Capalbo, swing and a miss, strike 1.
Harold, we have a score from Chicago in Pro Baseball American League. It's the Red Sox 3, White Sox 2 in the 3rd inning. Carney Lansford for Boston has hit his first home run with 1 runner on.
The 0-1 pitch popped up in the infield, and going out for it is second baseman Steve Varanowski, the right fielder coming in, Pat Berry. Berry calls him off and makes the play. So there's 1 away here in the top of the 4th. And for the Huskies, that's going to bring up Johnny Gallick. Gallick singled his first time on what looked to be a hit-and-run play as Capalbo was going towards second base on the play. And he lined a shot to Dan Smith in left field that bounced right in front of him. First pitch, inside corner, called strike 1. No balls and 1 strike on Johnny Gallick. Next pitch low. The count is evened at 1-1. Our next broadcast tomorrow afternoon at 12:55. Myself and Bobby Bunger will be at J.O. Christian Field. UConn Huskies versus St. John's. Ball 2. Count is up to 2 balls and 1 strike to John Gallick. Gallick came into this game hitting .249. Next pitch grounded on the left side and backhanded by the shortstop, Gene Doucette. A long throw to first, does not get there in time, and it will be a base hit as John Gallick uses his speed to beat out the hit. And the Huskies are trying to get something going here in the top of the 4th inning.
Harold, tomorrow's game against St. John's not only will be covered by WHUS, but we'll have some folks from the All Sports Cable Network there too. ESPN, Eddie Cranepool will be there to broadcast the game all across the country.
That will not be live. It'll be a tape-delayed broadcast. If you're home on Easter at 11 o'clock and you have ESPN, maybe you want to turn it on. Gallick running with the pitch and a swing and a foul behind the first base bag. A hit and run was on, but it does not work as the next batter, Doug Elliott, fouls one off. So the count goes to 0-1 on Doug. He grounded into a fielder's choice the first time up, hit it right up the first base line, and Gary Frechette took it through on the second base to the shortstop, Gene Doucette, but Doucette could not return it in time, and the out was not made. Pickoff attempted first, not in time, as John Gallick gets back to the base. 3-2, Northeastern up here in the top of the 4th inning. Next pitch swung on, a line shot in the left field. Going for it is Dan Smith. It bounces and gets by him. Rounding second base and going on to third is John Gallick, and going up to second base is Doug Elliott. Gallick going all the way around third, and he will score And the Huskies tie this one up. We'll see what they're going to call it. It has to be a hit and an error as Dan Smith let the ball play him. And that's exactly what it's going to be. So give Doug Elliott a single to center field, but an E7 as John Galla comes all the way around to tie this game up. And the Huskies have the leading run on second base with one away here in the top of the fourth inning.
That was a line shot out to left field sent out there by Elliott. And Elliott is hitting in the number 9 spot. He was a pretty hot hitter last year for Connecticut. And as you said, Harold, Dan Smith, the left fielder, let the ball play him, and it bounced over his shoulder and all the way to the left field wall.
And he does not even have the AstroTurf as an excuse for letting the ball get by him. That was a natural grass bounce. And that's going to bring up the number 1 hitter in the lineup, Kevin Trahan. Trahan is 1 for 2. The first pitch to him, outside corner, ball 1. Next pitch fouled behind the plate. Count rolls up to 1 ball and 1 strike. So we're going to see another high-scoring game, so it seems, unless Mike McKenna does the trick or Pat Gibbons settles down. We are in the top of the fourth, and we have seen 6 runs so far, 3 for each team. The on-deck batter will be Tom Rossi for Connecticut. 1-1 pitch from Pat Gibbons to Kevin Trahan. Low, ball 2. Team playing Trahan to pull just a little bit. And center fielder playing on the left side. Gibbons checks the sign, checks the runner. From the stretch, pitches inside and high. Count is up to 3 balls and 1 strike. Very important pitch by Gibbons on this turn of events. Ball in the dirt, and it's going to be a walk given up to Kevin Trahan. The 3rd walk of the game thrown by Pat Gibbons, and the Huskies have runners on first and second with Tom Rossi walking up to the plate.
Harold, that long inning by Northeastern in the bottom of the 3rd might have affected pitcher Pat Gibbons, as he's been throwing in the dirt a lot again so far here in the bottom of the 4th, as Coach Tinker Connolly comes out to talk with him and catcher Chuck Pasquarelli.
And Brian Dooley quickly goes to warm up in the Northeastern bullpen. Dooley was warming up a little bit earlier when Gibbons got in a bit of trouble. And again, he's warming up. Huskies on first and second. Elliott is standing on second. Kevin Trahan on first. And the 2, 3, 4 hitters for the Connecticut lineup are due up next. So Gibbons is now back on the mound, and Coach John Tinker Connolly is walking off the field, and we will resume play. So now Gibbons looking to check in the sign with the batter Tom Rossi at the plate. Runners on first and second. First pitch high, ball 1. Rossi looks in. It's on the stretch. And throws. Outside, they're going to go to first base to try to pick off Kevin Trahan. Not in time. That count goes up to 2 balls and no strikes. And the runners are still at first and second. So Trahan's going to have to watch out just a little bit. Elliott, who does not have the quickest speed in the world, was holding up at second base. And both a double steal as a pitch is inside low, and Elliott is going to be thrown out at third base. So score it 2-5 in your books, and do not credit Trahan with a stolen base since Elliott failed to make it to third, as Elliott did not get a very good jump at all. Nice gun by Chuck Pasquarelli. 2 away here in the top of the 4th. And the count is 3-0 to Tom Rossi. So we're going to have to question the move by Andy Baylock to get a double steal when he had the winning run already in scoring position, or we should say the leading run in scoring position. Next pitch fouled off on a 3-0 count, so Rossi was given the green light with a 3-0 count, and there again was still some question as to that. Next batter is going to be Mike Johnson. Maybe they should try to get a walk and have some men on base so Johnson can do his bit of work. Score is 3-3 here in the top of the 4th. Trahan on second base. 3-1 pitch. Called strike 2. Count goes to 3-2. So the count is full with Trahan on second base. Trahan's going to third, swing, and a foul off behind first base. So Andy Baylock, for some reason, wants that runner on third base. Trahan a little bit quicker than Doug Elliott. And he probably would have had it had not Rossi swung at that last pitch.
And Harold, as you mentioned, Doug Elliott does not have the fastest legs in the world, and he was out by a mile on that stolen base attempt.
Here's the pitch, ball 4. And Tom Rossi gets himself a walk. The fourth walk by Pat Gibbons. So Husky runners again at first and second. Two-way this time, and Mike Johnson will be the batter. Johnson 1 for 2 in the game so far. He singled in the first, knocking in 1 run, and he flew out to center field in the third inning. This is Harold Darak along with Jeff Dobek from Parsons Field in Boston, Massachusetts. The score is knotted at 3 apiece between the Huskies and Northeastern. First pitch called, strike 1. No balls and 1 strike to Mike Johnson, the batter. Brian Dooley still warming up for the Northeastern team in the bullpen. Gibbons steps off the rubber as he wants to watch Kevin Trahan a little bit closer. The 0-1 pitch, high, ball 2, as they throw on the second base to try to pick off Kevin Trahan, but that's not in time. It looked like it was a little bit of a pitch out, thinking Trahan might be running. Count goes up to 1 ball and 1 strike. As the first pitch was a called strike, I mistakenly said it was ball 2. Next pitch is high, and that will be ball 2. 2-1 to Mike Johnson. Trahan on second, and Rossi on first. 2-1 pitch, called strike 2. Johnson looking at the umpire, he really did not believe that, but it looked like the inside corner right above the knees. So the count is evened up at 2 balls and 2 strikes to Mike Johnson with two-way. Men on first and second. The pitch swung on, a ground ball left side. It goes foul. Just missing the third base bag. And Gene Doucette chases after it, throws it back into play as it bounces off the stands and into the playing field. Count remains at 2-2. The on-deck batter, Jimmy Considine. Considine so far 0 for 2 today. Gibbons checks, throws, and another ground ball foul. Gibbons been throwing a lot of pitches here. He is facing the Connecticut batters for the 3rd time, and he has walked 4 of them so far, struck out 1. But he is pitching here in the top of the 4th inning. He will definitely not go all 9 innings today. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on, a ground ball to the left side. It's picked up by the third baseman, Bill O'Leary. He dives and tags Kevin Trahan on the play. So score at 5 unassisted. And the Northeastern Huskies get out of the inning. But the damage, what little of it was done. The Huskies scoring 1 run on 2 base hits. There was 1 error and 2 left on base. And the score at the end of 3.5 innings of play, Connecticut 3 and Northeastern 3. Mike McKenna, the pitcher on the mound for the Connecticut Huskies, he got the Huskies out of trouble last inning by striking out Frank DePinto and Pat Barry with the bases loaded. He will face the same men that Craig Sternagel faced in the bottom of the 3rd, Dan Smith, Mike Ferrullo, and Steve Veronesi, as the Northeastern Huskies batted around all 9 batters last inning. Smith is 1 for 1 today. The first pitch to him, a called strike 1.
Harold, at the close of that inning, that closes the book on Craig Sternagel. He went 2 1/3 innings, allowing 3 runs all earned, 4 hits, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a wild pitch.
Next pitch called strike 2, so Mike McKenna has been finding the plate without any problem here today so far. He has struck out 2 batters, now an 0-2 count to Dan Smith, as he is throwing a lot of smoke. Curveball, and what a nice curve on it when it hit the outside corner, 1-2. But out here in the right center field bleachers, we saw a nice bit of a curve there as it just swung all the way around. Next pitch, curve, high, ball 2. 2-2, and he just missed with that one. Huskies playing Smith to pull as he rifled a shot in left field last time. Count goes up to 3-2 on the fastball. Game is tied at 3 apiece. Huskies of Connecticut had a 1-0 lead in the top of the first, a 2-0 lead in the top of the second. Northeastern went ahead in the bottom of the third, 3-2, and Huskies tied it up in the top of the fourth. Next pitch lined out to left center field, and running over and making the catch is John Gallick, the left fielder. Nice play by Gallick as he had to run a little bit of a distance to get that one. A good backup by Tom Rossi, and we have 2-1 away here, in the bottom of the fourth inning. That's going to bring up the top of the order. It'll be Mark Ferrullo, Steve Veronesi, and Gene Doucette. Ferrullo 1 for 2. He has scored a run. He grounded out 3-1 from Tommy Capalbo to Craig Sternagel in the first, and then put a single into right field, and ended up scoring on a wild pitch. Here's a bunt up the first base line, but it's going to go foul, and Tommy Capalbo will pick it up in foul territory. So nice thought by Mark Ferrullo, but it does not go through. His count is 0 balls and 1 strike. Huskies playing St. John's tomorrow. We're scheduled to play Harvard on Monday, but there was too many games scheduled for Harvard, so they had to cancel it. And there will be no game played on Monday. They're playing Brown on Tuesday. Next pitch popped up on the left side. Tally Noble calling for it, and he makes the catch. A big league pop-up on the left side. And there's quickly 2 away here in the bottom of the fourth.
Steve Veronesi now coming up to the plate for Northeastern. He hasn't had a good swing at the ball yet. He's walked in the first inning, and he struck out looking in the third.
McKenna winds, deals, and a called strike 1. With a fastball. The on-deck batter, Gene Doucette. Next pitch, a curve, low in the dirt, 1 ball and 1 strike. McKenna not having much luck with his off-speed pitches, but it's still in the early going for him in this game. Next pitch again in the dirt, 2 balls and 1 strike. McKenna checks the sign, and here's the 2-1 pitch. Called, strike 2, and the heat is really going over the plate. So McKenna evens up the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 away here to Steve Veronesi, the second baseman. McKenna checks a sign, winds, and pitches. Hits a shot in the left field, and it's going to be a base hit as Steve Veronesi, the lefty, goes to the opposite field and really check swing that hit. But he comes up with a base hit, the first one off McKenna. And Northeastern has a man on first base with 2 down. And we'd like to take this opportunity to wish our listeners a very happy Easter holiday over the weekend. Hopefully it'll be safe for all of you, and especially to the students of the University of Connecticut, who most of them will be going home for a little bit of an Easter break of 2 days. First pitch to the next batter, Gene Doucette, is a called strike 1. Doucette is 1 for 2 as he singled in the third inning and flew out in the first. Next pitch, ground ball up the middle. Going over for it is a shortstop, Tally Noble, and he steps on the bag to make the play. And that retires the side. No runs on 1 base hit, no errors, and 1 left on. At the end of 4 complete, it's Connecticut 3 and Northeastern 3. Right now the line score reads the Connecticut Huskies 3 runs on 6 hits and no errors, and for Northeastern it is 3 runs on 5 hits and 3 errors. Brian Dooley on the mound. He will be facing, for the Huskies, Mike Johnson, Jim Considine, and Kip Chapman. The first pitch of Johnson is fouled off, and the count goes to 0 balls and 1 strike here in the top of the 7th inning. So Brian Dooley working. He's been working in relief of Pat Gibbons. Gibbons pitched 4 innings, allowed 3 runs. This game is tied at 3 apiece. Next pitch swung on, a line shot to left field, and Dan Smith takes 2 steps in, and he makes the catch. Smith wearing number 24, looks a little bit like Dwight Evans from the spot we're at right now. So Johnson is retired on the line out to Smith. 1 down here in the top of the 7th, and that's going to bring up Jimmy Considine. Considine so far on the day is 0 for 2. He flew out to Mark Ferrillo, the center fielder, in the first, flew out to Smith, the left fielder, in the third, and walked in the 5th inning. And the first pitch to Considine, a curveball, goes over the plate, and it count 0 balls and 1 strike. Considine with 7 home runs on the year, Johnson with 8. The record is 9 set by Jimmy Considine last year. Both shooting after it. Considine broke a record by a very well-known Connecticut player, Randy Smith, who said it, Randy Levine, who said it back in the 78 or the 79 season. There's a fly ball out of the way. I'm thinking Randy Smith of the Journal-Inquirer. I'm sure he did not play baseball for the Connecticut Huskies a couple years ago.
And Harold, as I mentioned before, I just counted them now. I count 57 spectators, including you and me. That's closer to 60 than your 20.
I don't know where you get 57. You must be looking at someplace else. But the count is 0-2. Outside corner, ball 1. But if you say there's 57, Jeff,
I can get
we'll
their
say
signatures if you'd like.
Go ahead. Get out of the booth. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jimmy Considine. This game is tied at 3. It's been tied since the top of the 4th inning when the Huskies came back. Next pitch, a ground ball up the middle, base hit by Jimmy Considine. And the Huskies might have something going here in the top of the 7th. 1 runner on with 1 away, and Kip Chapman, who was the scheduled batter, will probably be pinch hit for by Wayne Patnaud.
And that is what is going to happen, Harold. Patnaud is out there.
Patnaud is a left-handed hitter. Chapman is a right-handed hitter, and Northeastern has switched pitchers from the lefty to the righty, so Connecticut will do just the opposite. Wayne Patnaud will now take over the DH spot. Patnaud is hitting very high this year. He is hitting at his .370 shot. In 19 games, he's 17 for 46 with 12 runs batted in. So Patnaud doing a fine job. He has walked 8 times and has struck out 6 times. And we'll see if he can keep the Connecticut rally going. With 1 away, it's Jimmy Considine on first base. In the stretch is pitcher Brian Dooley, and the first pitch is outside, ball 1.
Right fielder Pat Berry is playing quite deep here in front of us, and as is center fielder Ferrulo. The next pitch is outside for a ball. And Harold, since you were talking about your friends in Shelton, Wayne Patnaud is from my hometown of New Britain, Connecticut.
Fine town of New Britain, Connecticut, where we have one listener, and hopefully she's listening. 2-0 pitch, low, ball 3. Count goes to 3-0, and now Brian Dooley might be pitching himself into a bit of a jam as a couple of Northeastern pitchers get set to warm up and are warming up on the sideline. That's ball 4, so Patnaud comes in and gains the walk. And on the sideline for the Northeastern team is number 26, Chris Shaloff. And if I get my binoculars straight,
looks like Sean Brickman's out there, number 8. He relieved in the game against UConn on Monday and had a fine performance against the Huskies.
That's right, Sean Brickman, and we have another player, Ron Valeri, who is listed as a second baseman. He is also warming up. So that's going to bring up Tally Noble, who is 0 for 3 today, kind of cooling off the hot streak he was on. First pitch to him is high, ball 1. Husky runners on first and second. These are Connecticut Huskies. Considine on second, Wayne Patnaud at first, and there's a timeout on the field as Coach John Tinker Connolly and the catcher Chuck Pasquarelli wants to talk to the pitcher, Brian Dooley, and Dooley has now thrown 5 straight balls after giving up the base hit to Jimmy Considine, as there's now runners on first and second. Also warming up is Jeff Walsh, who is from Shelton, Connecticut. A lot of pitchers warming up. They might be warming up each other, or just warming up just in case later on in the innings, or maybe one of them might be starting a future game for Northeastern, but there's a lot of pitchers along that sideline. And right now we can see that Sean Brickman and Chris Shaloff, along with Jeff Walsh, are now along the sideline. Next pitch is a called strike. 1 ball and 1 strike to Tally Noble. Ground ball to the left side. The shortstop, Gene Doucette, picks it up, throws on the third base for the force out, and makes the play. So a heads-up move by Gene Doucette leaves us with 2 away here in the top of the 7th inning. Patnaud goes on to second. Tally Noble takes over the spot at first. And Noble, if he had a foot more to the left, to the right of Gene Doucette, would have had himself a base hit, as Doucette had to go to backhand that one. And he saw that the only play he could have is to third base. This is Tommy Capalbo, and the first pitch to him is a curveball inside and low. Ball 1. Capalbo, left-handed hitting batter versus the righty, Dooley. Next pitch in the dirt, 2-0. Dooley has already walked the only other left-handed batter he has faced this inning, and that was Wayne Patnod. Patnod on second base, and Tally Noble on first via a fielder's choice. 2-0 pitch, swung on and fouled behind home plate, 2-1.
This is a big chance here for the Huskies, Harold. If Capalbo gets out, they will have number 8 and 9 coming up next inning, and that'll be the 8th. So with 2 runners on and 2 out here in the 7th in this game, still tied. This is a very big sequence here with Tom Capalbo at the plate.
Next pitch popped up, and it looks like it might be going out of play. The catcher, Chuck Pasquarelli, going over for it, but it goes over the fence. And the count goes up to 2 balls and 2 strikes. For Northeastern next inning, bottom of the 7th, they'll have their 2, 3, and 4 hitters. So they're looking in pretty good shape so far. They've been cooled down a little bit, and their bats have by Mike McKenna, who's done himself a fine job in relief. Huskies been getting some very good relief as of late. Joe Frager versus Providence. McKenna here today. Next pitch grounded to the first baseman, right to the bag. Gary Frechette picks it up, steps on the bag, and that is it for the Connecticut Huskies in the top of the 7th. No runs on 1 base hit. There are no errors and 2 left on base. And the line score at the end of the 6.5 innings of play, the Connecticut Huskies 3 runs on 8 hits and 1 error, and the Northeastern Huskies 3 runs on 5 hits and 3 errors. We'll be right back right after this. Harold Darak along with Jeff Dobek in the bottom of the 7th inning. It will be Steve Veronesi, Gene Doucette, and Bill O'Leary to face the pitcher Mike McKenna. Veronesi is 1 for 2 with a walk, strikeout, and a base hit, and he tries to bunt it, and he bunts it foul. Stay tuned right after the game at 6 o'clock. It'll be Fresh Approach on WHUS, followed tonight by rock music and
with Carol Iacone.
Carol Iacone
sitting in for Steve Wolfberg.
For the Wolfie, Steve Wolfberg, here on WHUS.
We have a couple of scores to give you right after this pitch.
Next pitch, line into right field. Kevin Trahan taking in 3 steps and making the catch. 1 away here in the bottom of the 7th.
In Major League Baseball, we have another update on the Red Sox. In the 6th inning, they lead the White Sox now by 2, 5-3. Carney Lansford has hit a home run with 1 on early in the game. And Detroit leads Toronto 4-3 in the 3rd inning.
Gene Doucette strolls up to the plate. Doucette is 1 for 3. He singled in the 3rd, grounded out to a fielder's choice to the shortstop in the 4th, and flew out in the 1st to the center fielder Tom Rossi. He has 1 RBI, and he has scored 1 run. And quickly has 2 balls thrown to him by Mike McKenna. Huskies playing him the pull. And here's the 2-0 pitch. Low, ball 3. So McKenna quickly gets behind in one of the few rare times. One of the few times that he has done so. Few rare is kind of redundant. Tried to stop myself in the middle of that sentence. Next pitch called, strike 1. It's Connecticut 3, Northeastern 3. We're in the bottom of the 7th. The Huskies led it 1-0 at the end of 1, 2-0 at the end of 2. Next pitch, a line shot is foul right along the left field line.
And Harold, your prediction of a batter's duel, unless we got some good relief pitching, well, we do have that relief pitching, and we haven't had a run since you've said that in the 4th inning.
I guess that's a little bit of a jinx there, but Northeastern came up with 3 runs in the bottom of the 3rd to take the lead. Huskies tied it up in the top of the 4th. That's where we stand. It's 3-3. Line shot to center. Tom Rossi backtracking. He makes the catch with a 3-2 count on Gene Doucette. A nice play by Tom Rossi. There's 2 away here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
A nice running catch by Rossi there as he went flying down the 30-yard line here on the football field. And a nice running catch, and just in front of us.
You really wish this was a football game, don't you?
I've never done a football game before.
Well, you'll have your chance next year. McKenna with 2 away, pitching now to the number 4 hitter, Bill O'Leary. And the first pitch on the outside corner, nips the corner, called strike 1. O'Leary 0 for 2, grounded out to first, walked in the 3rd, and flew out, popped out to the catcher in the 5th. To make that, he grounded out in the 1st to the 3rd baseman. Next pitch, curveball, low and outside. Count is evened at 1-1. McKenna looks, checks the sign, winds, and delivers. Low, ball 2.
Mike Johnson at second base couldn't believe that. He turned around in agony, it seemed like. He thought that pitch was right in there for a strike.
It's a very close call on that play. 2-1 pitch swung on, fouled off on the ground behind home plate. The count is evened up again at 2-2. Huskies with Capalvo at first, Johnson at second, Tally Noble at short, and Jim Constein at third. In left, it's John Gallick, Tom Rossi in center, and in right field, Kevin Trahan. Doug Elliott behind the plate, and on the mound, pitching in relief, Mike McKenna, who is throwing himself a fine game. A high pitch there, though. Kind of got away from him. Count rolls up to 3 balls and 2 strikes. He has now pitched about 5 1/3 innings. And he has not let in a run so far. Next pitch, low, ball 4, and he picks up his first walk of the game. So, Bill O'Leary on first base on a free pass, and Chuck Pasquarelli comes up to the plate. He is 1 for 2, singled in the second, walked in the third, and he grounded out in the 5th. And that inning when he walked is one of the 3 walks that Craig Sternagel happened to throw in a row. He was the middle walk. And with 1 Northeastern Husky on with 2 down, Pasquarelli takes ball 1.
And right now we'd like to pause 5 seconds for station identification. You're listening to Connecticut Husky Baseball.
Doug Elliott went out to the mound to talk to Mike McKenna. McKenna now walking back, thinking about what Elliott had to say, and he's working from the stretch. O'Leary on first base, checks the runner, fires outside, ball 2. And the Huskies quickly start to get some action going as a few people standing up along the sideline getting ready to warm up, I believe. They do not want to blow this game. Next pitch, ground ball to the left side, picked up by Noble on the run to throw to first, and they just get him. So a good play by Noble, who had a little bit of problems of getting the ball out of his glove, but he fires on the first and makes the play. So at the end of 7 complete, with nothing across, the score is Connecticut 3 and Northeastern 3. Thank you very much, Bill Healy. Bill doing a fine job engineering for us this afternoon. And if you do see that lost dog, Sheba, give a call to the owner. I'm sure he's very worried about it. Top of the 8th inning. For the Huskies, it's going to be John Gallick, Doug Elliott, and Kevin Trahan, the 8, 9, and 1 hitters. But Doug Elliott and John Gallick both very hot so far today. Gallick is 2 for 3, as well as Doug Elliott. Gallick singled in the 2nd inning, singled in the 4th, and later scored on a Doug Elliott hit, which was coupled with a Dan Smith error. And then he popped out to the pitcher in the 6th, so he is 2 for 3. First pitch, inside fastball, ball 1. And we do have some action in the Husky bullpen. Warming up is number 14, Larry Keogh, trying to preserve this game, which is now tied at 3 apiece. Another pitch and another ball to Gallick. 2-0 is the count. High, ball 3, and one thing that pitcher Brian Dooley does not want to do is start this inning off with a walk, and quickly Sean Brickman gets up and gets set to start warming up also, as Northeastern, again, they don't want to blow this game also. Dooley gets a strike. Northeastern leads the series of the year so far 1-0 as they defeated the Huskies 10-9 at J.O. Christian on Monday. Next pitch popped up in the infield, and calling for it is the pitcher Brian Dooley, and he makes the catch. And that is not usually the way it's done, as third baseman usually makes a play on that one, but Dooley called him off, and he gets the pop out. In the bottom of the 8th, there's 1 away, and that's going to bring up Doug Elliott. Elliott hit into a fielder's choice, a hard fielder's choice in the 2nd. Lashed a single in the 4th and doubled in the alley in left center in the 6th. He is also 2 for 3, and he's been rifling the ball all over the place. Let's see if he can keep up his hot hitting. Dooley checks aside, winds, and delivers outside off-speed delivery, ball 1. Quick worker this time in his next pitch. Fired down low again, ball 2.
And Harold, the relief pitchers are coming in strong. Dooley has only allowed 2 hits in his over 2 innings of relief. And McKenna has allowed only 1 in his over 3 innings.
That pitch gets away from the catcher. The count goes up to 3 balls and no strikes. As the scoreboard fails to register the 3rd ball, the scoreboard says it's 2-1. And there's a called strike right there, so we're kind of confused exactly what the count is. We'll just tell you that Dooley winds up, delivers, it's high, and I guess it is now ball 3 at the moment, so the count does go full. And the scoreboard is right after it catches up. The count is 3-2 to the number 9 hitter, Doug Elliott. Ground ball left side, picked up by the third baseman, Bill O'Leary. He fires on the first baseman, Gary Frechette, and there's two-way here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Top of the 8th. If it was the bottom, we'd be at J.O. Christian right now. See, I know my baseball. That's going to bring up the number 1 hitter, Kevin Trahan. Trahan so far is 1 for 3. He fouled out behind home plate in the first, banged a single in the second, and knocked in a run, walked in the fourth, and grounded out to the shortstop in the 6th. He tries to bunt right there, and it's a called strike on him. Trahan came into this game batting .312, and he's probably up that just a little bit. We'll say he's hitting about .314. Next pitch, curve on the outside corner. A little bit out of the way, 1 ball and 1 strike. Next pitch, low, 2 balls and 1 strike. Dooley looked like he was going to start this inning in a bad situation. 3-0 pitch. Now, next pitch grounded onto the third baseman. O'Leary throws on the first, and the side is retired. So 1-2-3 in the top of the 8th inning as Dooley does the trick. And at the end of 7.5 innings of play, the score is Connecticut 3 and Northeastern 3. Fresh approach at 6 o'clock following the ball game on WHUS Stores, Connecticut. And at 7 o'clock, there'll be some more rock and roll music with Carol Iacone. So a lot of good stuff on WHUS this weekend.
And Harold will be giving you that number in a little bit if you see the yellow and white Husky Sheba. But right now, Northeastern comes to bat here in the bottom of the 8th.
Gary Frechette, Frank DePinto, and Pat Berry in the bottom of the 8th to face Mike McKenna. First pitch, over to plate, strike 1. If you want to call up, you find the yellow and white Husky, Rich Hansen, at 423-2341. That's 423-2341. Next pitch fouled behind the plate. Count rolls up to 0-2.
And we don't have yellow and white Huskies here, but we've got Northeastern Huskies and Connecticut Huskies all over the place.
In fact, maybe Rich should come up here and see if he should pick out another Husky.
Stop it.
The 0-2 pitch swung on again, fouled off behind the plate. No play on it, and the count remains at 0-2. Tomorrow it'll be UCONN versus St. John's at 12:55. Bobby Bunger, myself, will be broadcasting that game high atop of the press box. If it rains, we're going to be a little bit of trouble. The 0-2 pitch swung on and missed, strike 3. So McKenna picks up another strikeout. For him, that is his 4th strikeout of the game. He has only walked 1 batter, and he has only allowed 1 base hit. So he is pitching very well here in the 8th inning. He came on in relief of Craig Sternhagel with 1 away in the 3rd. So he has now pitched 5 innings of ball.
And allowed only 1 hit.
First pitch to Frank DePinto, a called strike 1. So Andy Baylock has to be happy with Mike McKenna, as Mike's doing a fine job. Next pitch, grounded foul again. The count goes to 0-2. And Connecticut's pitcher Larry Keough now sits down. He was warming up all that time. He should be ready just in case anything goes wrong with Mike McKenna's arm. But the Huskies are going to have to wake up. At least that is the Connecticut Huskies are going to have to wake up with their bats if they want to pull this game out. Next pitch, curveball outside. The count goes up to 1-2. And if you're wondering what the Huskies of Connecticut are going to be doing in the top of the 9th, it's going to be Tom Rossi, Mike Johnson, and Jim Considine. Next pitch called, strike 3 with a curveball, and he gets him looking. The 5th strikeout for Mike McKenna, and there's 2 away here in the bottom of the 8th inning. So McKenna seems to be getting stronger and stronger, and he's going to face Pat Berry. Berry's been up 3 times, twice versus McKenna, and both times versus McKenna, he has swung and missed that 3rd pitch. Struck out twice. He has also flied out to Tom Rossi. And the first pitch to him swung on and grounded foul. Right behind the home plate again, 0-1. So McKenna still keeping in front of these ball players. And that is what the trick is, control. And that's exactly what he's doing. And he's doing it mostly with his heat. His curveball now is starting to go over. And he's making it himself a very tough man to get a base hit off of. Swung on and missed. Count goes to 0-2, and it's starting to sprinkle here at Northeastern's Parsons Field, and it would be a shame to come up all this way and play 8 or 9 innings and go home with a tie. So we're going to hope that that rain will subside a little bit. Next pitch outside corner, just missed. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Checks the sign, winds and delivers a fly ball to the left side. Coming in for it is John Gallick, and he's going to have to run, dives, and makes the catch. A beautiful play by John Gallick, who dove on that play, and the side is retired. No runs on no base hits. There are no errors and 0 men left on at the end of 8 full innings of play. Connecticut 3 and Northeastern 3. We will be back right after this.